Hey guys, this is MVDev10, and today I'm going to be talking about this motherboard. So, first thing, it is a BioStar TA990FX. It is a socket AM3 Plus, so it's an AMD board. So it's a newer model board. This motherboard's actually dead. I'm going to be calling BioStar about it, see if I can get a replacement or something, or money back, maybe. But I just wanted to talk a little while about what a motherboard is. So for those of you who don't know what a motherboard is, it is pretty much the mothership of your computer. So if you look inside your computer, you'll see a board that looks about like this. Won't look as fancy as this one because this is a gaming motherboard, but it'll look something like this. So pretty much when you're looking at this, you will see a whole bunch of different slots and all these different things on there, and you'll see like a battery in here. You'll see chips and stuff all over it. But if you don't know what it is, I mean, what's the point of looking at it? So I'm going to try and help you understand what you're looking at. Okay, so first off, this open area right here is this CPU slot. So this is where you'll put your CPU. So if you're looking at if you're looking at your motherboard, it'll have a tall heatsink on there. It might not be that tall, but you'll see it. It has a fan on it. That's the heatsink, and underneath that heatsink, you will see a CPU. Okay, and next to it, you'll see I have these heat sinks on there. This is, I want to say, North Bridge, I think, and this is the South Bridge down here. But the North Bridge is designed to take care of like the PCI slots and these I/O and all your I/O connectors, all the I/O stuff over here. Notice I don't have onboard video. That's because the CPU that goes in here, it doesn't have onboard video capabilities. And so I'm not as familiar with the North and South Bridge, but pretty much they're just controller chips. So the South Bridge, the South Bridge right here, that controls everything else. So you have your eSATA ports down here. That chip controls those eSATA ports, and it also controls all these connectors down here. And these are power and reset buttons on directly on the motherboard. So that one chip, sorry, that one chip controls all of this stuff down here. Okay, so let's see. So let's see. Have you ever messed up your computer by opening up the case? It's off, but opening up the case and touching the motherboard, and all of a sudden you try to turn it on again and it won't turn on? Well, that is because of this battery. It's called a CMOS battery. It's actually a button cell battery, but it's called a CMOS battery. And so what that does is it saves all of your BIOS settings and stuff. So you can't start your computer without this battery in there. I think it's also to actually it stores some power, as well as all of these capacitors, all these things that look silver and blue, or maybe it looks white and blue on there, but all of those capacitors, they hold a charge. So that's why if you touch your computer and messed it up somehow, that's why you touched the component that still had charge and an electrical charge in them. So, ooh, that's moving. Maybe I can take that off. I'll see. So a trick. Oh my gosh, I keep on saying I'm sorry. A trick to do is to turn off your computer, unplug it or turn off the power supply, and then press the power button again. You will see that the computer will light up again, or maybe it'll even start booting up again, but it won't boot up. It'll shut off in a little bit. But that's that. Let's see. Got a whole bunch of chips and stuff. You know, it's just motherboard. Let's see. You have an 8-pin connector up here. This is called your supplemental CPU power. So you have your 24-pin connector down here. That provides power from the power supply or in your computer to the motherboard itself. But you also need more power for the CPU. So that's where this comes in. Sometimes there'll be a 4-pin, or there could be an 8-pin. For higher motherboards, higher end motherboards, you can have an 8-pin and a 4-pin. The 4-pin will usually be somewhere over here. Let's see. You have all these fan connectors everywhere. So there's a 4-pin fan connector right here. That's your CPU fan connector. Let's see. You have a chassis fan connector right here. It's actually it says system fan here, but it's a 3-pin. Let's see. There's another one there. And I can't see any more, but that's fine. Let's see. You're probably wondering why this coax 4-pin connector, this Molex connector, there we go, Molex connector is right here. Well, that's because if you're doing Crossfire or SLI and you need more power to your graphics cards, you plug in a Molex connector right here, and it provides more power to your graphics cards. So it's pretty much the supplemental power for the GPUs. And moving on to the PCI slots, on my board it changes according to what board you have. But on my board I have 2 PCI slots. Here's a PCI X1, PCI 16. These two are PCI 16, and this one's a PCI 16 as well. But if you do Crossfire or SLI, you will probably want to use the first 2. Now it changes according to what motherboard you have. But with this one, if I could do triple slot, if I could do 3-way SLI or 3-way Crossfire X, this would be 16. Actually, I think these two would be 16, and this one would be 8X. So 16X, 16X, 8X. So that's it changes according to what motherboard you have, but for most cases, it'll be the first 2 are either X16, X16, or X16, X8. And then going on, it'll be like XA8 or X4. And then this is X1. Alright, let's see. So you got all your connectors down here, down at the very bottom. Those are just like audio connectors. So you have your let's see, let me read this. Okay, so these connectors over here, see how they're kind of color coded? That's because they're for the LEDs and the power switches on your case. So you'll see SPK, that's speaker, that's for speaker, of course. And then HDD LED, that's to show your whether or not your hard drive is working, like whether or not it's under load or idle. You'll see the little light flashing on your case. And then it has the reset switch, I guess power switch is right above it. And you also have the power LED, and that's about it there. And like I said, I have the 2 power and reset switches here. USB 2.0, USB 3.0, 12-volt rail, the system fan. COM, I'm not exactly sure what that's for. This, I'm not exactly what it's for. I'm not exactly sure what it's for. Here's audio. So you have an audio coming out of your case. That's for onboard audio. Let's see. So let me talk about the RAM. Okay, so if you're looking inside your motherboard, the RAM is always next to the CPU. So here are your RAM slots. See, I have 4 of them. I have 4 of them on here, and they're color coded. Every other one is a color. So these 2 white, these 2 red. So when you look inside your motherboard, you will see that this is A1, this is A2, this is B1, this one, and this is B2. Now, this is a dual channel motherboard. Like, you have to have a dual channel memory in order for this to work. So what that means is that these 2, B1, B2, those 2 slots work in tandem, and then A1, A2 work in tandem. Okay, so that's why whenever you look inside your case, you will see a RAM DIMM in every other slot. That's because it's most likely a dual channel motherboard, and they have to put the RAM in every other slot for the RAM to be able to communicate with each other. If you don't put them in the same slot, I'm not sure what happens. I don't think it would boot. I don't think your system would boot. Well, it would boot, but it wouldn't recognize all the RAM because they're not working together. So, yeah. Let's see. I think I pretty much covered everything on here. And let me see. I'm not sure if I can. Yeah, I can. Alright. Give me a second. I'm trying to take this heatsink off. Yeah, there we go. So you see that big heatsink on there? But that thing, that silver looking thing with some copper lining around it, that's the chip that's controlling all of the eSATA ports and all these different connectors down here. That tiny ass little chip. That's all that's working. And with the processor, same thing. Tiny ass little chip. Tiny chip on there. It's ridiculous. Like, it's unbelievable, really. If you're interested in computers, you need to, if you have an old computer lying around, take it apart and just look at it, because it's really amazing. And if you can do a side-by-side comparison of the old technology versus the new technology, late 80s versus now, the technology hasn't really changed very much. It's the architecture of the CPU, the South Bridge, the North Bridge, the RAM. So the only thing that's changed is the architecture. Now we have gone from PATA, which was you would see those ribbon cables inside your case. That was PATA. This is SATA. And so we've gone through SATA 1, SATA 2, SATA 3, and same with RAM. First it was DDR. It had gigantic memory chips on them. DDR2 had the smaller chips. DDR3 still had the smaller chips, and now we have DDR4, which still has the smaller chips. The difference with those is the amount of pins. Now, DDR2, I'm not exactly sure, but DDR3 has 240, and DDR4 has 288. So DDR4 is a higher speed than DDR3. DDR3, I believe, ends at 2133 megahertz, and DDR4 starts at 2133 megahertz. But unfortunately, currently the only motherboard that supports DDR4 are the Intel motherboards. So if you want DDR4, you have to go with Intel. But guys, this pretty much wraps up my overview of a motherboard. If you have any questions about motherboards, leave them in the comments below. I'd be happy to help you out. If any of you out there are building a computer, I have built my own computer. Please ignore the bird. He just got his foot caught in the cage, being a little dumbass. Lucky, are you okay? Yeah, he's fine. Don't worry about him. I know that was a little sketchy, but he's fine. Don't worry about him. Okay. But if you have any questions about computers, don't hesitate to ask, because I love computers. I actually volunteer at a place called Free IT Athens. What we do is take old computers and refurbish them and sell them at a very reduced price. So I'm pretty good with computers. So if any of you guys out there are planning on building a computer, I could definitely help you out. I can help you pick out what parts you want. I can help you figure out what graphics card you need, what CPU would be best for you, how much RAM you would need. So if you guys need any help with anything computer related, I can help you guys out. But thanks for watching. Check out my other videos and have a nice day.